My name is Alan Cutter. I'm a retired Presbyterian minister, and this is my take on current events. The picture you saw at the beginning of this video is the walker that the Veterans Administration recently issued to me. Behind it are a few of the canes and walking sticks I have collected over the last 50 years. You see, I'm a disabled veteran, one of those suckers who, according to President Trump, went to Vietnam. I can remember clearly that day in 1969 when, having traveled to the military entrance and processing station in Boston, I raised my hand and took the oath as I enlisted in the United States Navy. I had just about completed work on a master's degree but needed a little bit more time, but my draft board was coming after me, and this was my way to buy a little time, to avoid the Army, and to avoid perhaps a trip to Vietnam. I had very mixed feelings that day. 2 years later in Newport, Rhode Island, I took another oath as I was commissioned as an officer, an ensign in the United States Navy. That day I was full of pride and gratitude. I was living my dream of being a naval officer. Even the harsh reality that I had orders directly to Vietnam was forgotten for a time. As an enlisted man, I had learned the Vietnamese language, which was needed now in country. So I had orders to Vietnam according to the needs of the service. When I took the oath, I agreed to go where needed, so I went. I did not expect to return alive. But when my tour of duty ended, I was, to my surprise, sort of alive, still breathing, but burdened with memories that terrified me. I was glad to be back home on United States soil, and after returning through Travis Air Force Base, and since I had no civilian clothes, still wearing my summer khaki uniform and black beret, I boarded a civilian aircraft in San Francisco to begin the journey back home to Boston. I got a window seat. A woman with a young child boarded soon after I did, and the child ran down the aisle and came into the row where I was the only occupant and sat down beside me. I was amused at the child's energy. As I turned smiling to greet the child, I heard the woman speak to the stewardess. "Can you change our seats? I don't want my child sitting next to a baby killer." The joy of being home died right then, as I realized with profound sadness and unexpectedly deep grief that I was an alien in my own country, unwanted and despised. It was a hard time in our nation. Divisions were deep. How I found my way home is another story. With a lot of help, a lot of love, and the assistance of other veterans and their families, I've enjoyed a rewarding career serving as a pastor and church executive, and reaching out to encourage other veterans and trauma survivors to find meaning using the mantra, "Living is giving." Through that, I found my own pathway to reconciliation and a measure of peace. And I thought I had put that feeling of being unwanted and despised by my country behind me. And then I learned Donald Trump had said he wouldn't have the disabled or wounded veterans march in his parades because the American people don't like to see them. Our canes and walkers, artificial limbs, and guide dogs make people uncomfortable. As I read the rest of the story in The Atlantic and listened to the various confirming reports, the numerous reports of its basic truth, I found myself back on that airplane with the joy dying within me, once more full of profound sadness and unexpectedly deep grief, being labeled as a loser by a commander-in-chief who doesn't believe that military service really has any value. I never had high hopes for a Trump presidency. My own expectations for that greedy, arrogant, misogynistic, xenophobic misanthrope were pretty damn low. But then Trump shattered even that low barrier by calling the men and women of the military, even the fallen, losers and suckers, and unable to conceive of any concept such as service or sacrifice or honor or duty, mindlessly asking, why would they do that? And what did they get out of it? Well, Mr. Trump, we really don't get anything you'd consider of value out of serving our country. We do not get rich. We do not get famous. We don't get lots of publicity. We do get the experience of being part of a community, a comradeship. We get to learn the value of life, and we know that we are part of a great American tradition, the ongoing revolution that allows our nation to hold free and fair elections. We're even willing to take the risk that every so often the people will be conned, they'll be suckers, and make a colossal error and elect a completely unqualified loser like you. That's my take on current events.